Tell me what you put for the difference or your change in y from S to T. So how far from here to here? 6. A positive or a negative 6? Positive. How far from on your x's? How did it change? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and again, it's a positive. So if we are going up, it's a positive. If we are going right, it's a positive. If we go down, it's same thing. So what's our change in y? 6 over 4. Tell me about 6 over 4. 3 over 2. So compare our ratio in part C to our rise over run. They're the same. So when we talk about the slope formula, we have rise over run. We talked about that with our graph. We have change in y over change in x. Remember, on your formula chart, that is the same as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? This is in your formula chart. So if for some reason you were to forget, is it x over y or y over x, you can always look at that. You have it in the back of your journal. It is on every quiz in the reference chart. It's going to be on every test. It'll be on STAR test. You always have access to that. So when we have rise over run, again, we were just talking, you have to think about your signs, okay, and the same thing with your formula. So remember, if we go left or we go up, actually, let me just draw arrows, right? If we go left and up, these are positive numbers. If that is right and up, thank you. If we go left and down, that's negative. Some people don't like the slope formula. Some people, especially when they have a table, they like to just do change in y over change in x. So I'm going to show you both of those methods. And again, you choose which works best for you. So if I am going to just do on this table, I'm going to do change in y over change in x. You can use any of these 2 points. They can be next to each other. You can skip one. Sometimes there's negatives and we don't like to deal with negatives, or sometimes there's decimals, right? Just choose the 2 you want. So if I said, okay, how do I go from 11 to 19? What do I do? We're going to add 8. And how do we go from 1 to 2? We add 1. So is my change in y over change in x 1 over 8 or 8 over 1? It is 8 over 1. You can write it as 8 over 1, or you can just write 8. I would accept either. What would the direction of this line be? Up, right, because it is a positive. Remember, when we look at a graph, we always look from left to right. If you have 2 points, you can choose to use your formula. If you don't like the formula, you can make a mini table. If you're going to use the formula, label them, right? So this -7, -3 is just my first coordinate. So that's my x1, y1. 3, -4, that's my second coordinate, so it's the x and the y with the 2's, okay? That's all the 1's and 2's mean. If we're going to plug this into our formula, be aware there is a minus in that formula that we are not going to change. So if we're going to do y2, what's my y2? -4. This is my minus from my formula. What's my y1? -3. So notice, this blue negative is from the formula. The red negative was for the coordinates, okay? You're not going to just put 1 minus. You need to have both because the blue negative is part of the formula. Over x2, what's my x2? 3 minus from the formula. What's my x1? -7. So please be very careful. Sometimes when we have a minus, a negative, people think, oh, they only need to put one of them, okay? But they are representing 2 different things, all right? So you can either put that in your calculator, you can use your brain. Negative what?
1 over 10.
Negative 1 over 10, very nice. What is the direction of this line?
Down.
Down. So when you look at this, you can do a couple of things. If you like the change in y over change in x, how do we go from negative 11 to negative 8? Plus 3. How do we go from 0 to 4? Plus 4. Notice I didn't mess with the decimals. I don't want to. If you wanted to, you could. So my slope would be my change in y over change in x is 3 over 4. Now, if you do not like that method with the table, you very well could go ahead and label this x1, y1, x2, y2, and you can set up your formula, negative 8 minus negative 1 for y2 minus y1 over 4x2 minus 0x1. You will get the same thing. It doesn't matter which method you use. That's why I tell you, use the one you're most comfortable with. On number 4, notice the origin. What do we know about the origin? 0, 0. So if you're going to use your formula, x1, y1, x2, y2, then you'll have 7 minus 0 over 6 minus 0. Make sure your 2's and your 1's match up so you can get 7 over 6 this way. Now, some people do not like the formula, and that is purely personal preference. If you are given 2 points like that, you can always make a mini table like this, and then you can say, oh, this is plus 7 and this is plus 6, and you're still going to get the same thing. What is the direction of this line? Up. This one is up. What about number 3? Up also. All right, what is the slope of this line? Again, you can do change in y and change in x. So x's are adding 10. What are the y's doing? They're adding what? 350. Now, remember, you do have to simplify. Change in y over change in x. So we're adding 350 for every 10, whatever we have. So what is it?
35.
So our slope is 35. You can also write 35 over 1. I will take either of these. So please, when I throw up answers, if you wrote a whole number and I put it over 1, know that that's the same thing. What's the direction of this line? Positive. It's going up. Here, again, find the slope of the line, describe what it would look like. That's just what we've been doing where we're drawing that line. So again, you can do y2 minus y1, or you can make a mini table. Either way, if you're going to use y2 minus y1, you'll have, you can do the 2 or the negative 9 first. I guess we'll do the 2 first. 2 minus negative 9 over 5 minus 5. So it just depends on what you prefer. This is adding 11. This is adding 0. If you put this in your calculator, you're going to get 11 over 0. What do you know about that?
Zero.
No, it is not 0. It is undefined. You cannot divide by 0. What does an undefined line look like? Slope. Right here, straight up and down. Look at the D. Right? It is going to be a vertical line. Make sure you know the difference. Some of you get in a hurry when we have a 0 there and you think it's automatically 0. Double check it, because if there's a 0 in the denominator, my answer is not 0. Tropical storm Eva brought heavy rain to Galveston. The table shows the relationship between the inches and the time. Again, rate of change. You guys need to know that is the same thing as slope. Now, I have some decimals here. I really don't like decimals, so I'm just going to skip over that number, and I'm going to go from here to here and here to here. So tell me about 9 to 18. Plus 9. About 12 to 24. Plus 12. So is it 12 over 9 or 9 over 12? What do you know about 9 over 12? 3 over 4. And I'm going to actually, because I have a context, I can say that means that Tropical Storm Eva dropped 3 inches every 4 hours for rain. So make sure that you understand, especially if they give you in a context, throw those labels on there so that you can see exactly what that means.
Wait, could you do the first two coordinate stuff? Like you could, right?
So you could, you don't have to skip that. If you did this, you said, okay, this is 6, and this is what, 4.5? So if you put 4.5 over 6 in your calculator, you're still gonna get 3/4. And that's the beauty of this. It doesn't matter which coordinates you use. It's going to be the same no matter what. Christy made a mistake in calculating her slope. Describe her error. Guys, if you have 2 points, the first thing you should always do is label them, right? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And if it's asking you about an error, I would set it up myself. I would say, okay, if I'm using my formula, Y2 minus Y1 over X2. What's my X2? -4 minus, what's my X1? -18. So what was Christy's mistake? Well, okay, so the plus is, what do you know about a negative? It becomes a positive. So technically this is correct, but what did she do wrong?
-18 plus.
Yeah, this is backwards. Order matters when you're using that slope formula, because you should be able to see your coordinates vertically, right? Our coordinates were -4, -1. Notice in ours that we wrote, they were there. -18, -5. Her coordinates are not lining up. So that's going to mess it up if you do that. So please be very, very careful. Find the slope. So what should the slope actually be? 4 over 14, which is 2 over 7. And hers was negative because she flip-flopped it. That makes a big difference, because a line going up versus a line going down are two different things. Marco is growing crystals for an experiment. He has 2 jars, different solutions to form the crystals. The table shows the relationship between the amount of growth in grams and the number of days. Which jar has a greater rate of change? So we need to find our slope on both. Now, jar A and jar B both have decimals. If you want to deal with decimals, you can. Personally, I don't like decimals. How do you go from 29 to 87? We add how many? 58. But if I do that on the y's, and remember on a vertical table, the left is always x and the right is always y, you have to do the 4 to the 12. You have to make sure they match up. How do we go from 4 to 12? Plus 8. So tell me, is it 8 over 58 or 58 over 8? 58 over 8. And that does simplify to 29 over 4. So that means it is growing 29 grams every 4 days. So let's compare that on B. And B, I'm going to go here to here and here to here. How do I go from 37 to 74?
37.
Plus 37. 5 to 10 is plus 5. So this one is 37 over 5. 37 grams over 5 days. Now, they want us to compare them. Those do not have the same denominator, so it's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to suggest on this occasion, you put it in your calculator and you make it a decimal. Make it a decimal. So tell me about 29 over 4 and 37 over 5. 7.25 and 7.4. So grams in 1 day is what that's describing. So which one has a greater rate of change then? A or B? B, because it's a higher slope. Last one. What method would you use on this graph to find the slope of the line? There's a lot of ways you could do this. We've talked about 3 different ways. Rise over run would probably be the easiest because it is a graph. Could you?
Wait, Miss Ray, do we have to start on the y-axis when we do the rise over run?
You do not have to start on the y-axis. You can start, I usually start on my leftmost point and then I go to the right. You could, because we do have coordinates, we could do x1, y1, x2, y2 if you really wanted to. Or you could make a little mini table and you could do change in y over change in x. There's no wrong way to do this as long as you remember it needs to be y over x. It's really just a preference thing. Find the slope of the line, okay? So most of you said rise over run. So notice, what direction is this line going?
Down.
Down. What sign should we have? Negative. Our scale is by ones, so we're going to count. Now, this one is 4.5. I really don't like that. This dot right here is a nice pretty dot where it crosses the grid.
Isn't it going both ways? 'Cause it's arrow.
Okay, it is going both ways, but when we count rise over run, it's easier to go left to right.
Okay.
Just like when we read the graph. So I'm actually going to count to this -1, +5, down 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So tell me about -2 over 4.
It equals 1/2.
-1/2. Make sure you have a negative. Describe the types of situations when the slope formula is more helpful than rise over run. Really, we only use rise over run in graphs. You might want to use the formula if you have points or a table, but you could use it in a graph as well.